Hello and welcome to another episode of the Weighing Room with myself and Paul. This morning on a Friday morning, we're just talking about the weather and whether or not we'll get any rain. But it's been a nice dry week so far, and it's probably prime for some of these sprinters because there's plenty of quick racing this weekend. Some group action we've got to look forward to. It's going to be a good one, Paul.
Yeah, it's competitive. Maybe not top drawer stuff, Frankie, but it is very competitive nonetheless. The weather, I was just talking about the weather. I'd be about an hour and a half, we'll say, from the current now. And we were forecast a light shower here now in the northeast this morning, but we're getting a bit heavier, a bit more rain in the northeast of Ireland than what we were forecast.
Yeah, all racing this weekend we're going to be taking a look at will be from England, from Newbury, Newmarket and Ripon. I was up in the north of England at Beverley in the week, and it was glorious for Beverley Ladies' Day. We're going to get stuck in to the 150 at Newbury to start. And we're going to start with a 1 mile, 5.5 furlong Group 3 race. Kamari tops the market. Arrest, the once talked about Derby Hope for Dettori is your second favourite. Klondike is in there, slightly unexposed compared to the rest of the field. Who do we fancy, Paul?
I'm all over Klondike in this one, Frankie. I thought he won his maiden on heavy ground at Newbury. That was over a mile and three. You obviously starting off over a mile and three, especially at Newbury. He obviously wasn't setting the world alight at home, but when you see him, he's a big, rangy individual, and he probably took some time to develop. Like I said, he won his maiden on heavy ground. Then was a good second behind Gregory at Goodwood back in May. That was on good ground, and I thought he ran a cracker last time out. He looked a bit green when push came to shove, and the pace of the race quickened at Newmarket last time out. He looked a bit green. He veered off the raced up the as you were looking at the camera shot that were on the left of the screen, and when the pace quickened, like after a couple of strides, he veered off to the left and took a little bit of straightening up and what have you. But he finished 4th to 6. Now, even though he only beat 2 home, I don't think the winner was any further away from him when they passed the winning line as he was maybe a furlong and a half out. So did look a bit green, a bit one-paced. Tactics were very much, it was a small field that day. Tactics were very much to get him settled out the back. Hopefully he would have learned a bit from that run that Connections can now ride him a little bit closer to the pace. Like I said, he looked like he was still learning last time out. I thought he ran a cracker. He wasn't beaten that far. 2 furlongs out, you maybe thought he was going to get maybe left behind. But like I said, the winner wasn't any further away from him at the winning line than he was, we'll say, a furlong and a half out. There has to be more to come. He's a gorgeous looking individual. And I think 5 to 1 is a bit of value about Klondike.
Yeah, I agree, Paul. Really interesting runner, isn't he? With only the 3 starts to his name. And
yeah,
like you said, I agree. I think he ran a cracker on just his 3rd start to be in the mix with, decent horses. Castleways just put in a hat trick for Godolphin team. Tower of London, a strong one of Aidan O'Brien, St George in there as well. Like these are all decent horses with more racing experience. And he has ran, as you said, a couple of lengths off them and running a little bit green. He did look a bit of a big baby, should be improving. Wouldn't have to improve miles from that run. Just kind of has to put it all together a bit, doesn't he?
yeah.
To beat the field here. Arrest obviously at one point was looking a very smart horse, but probably the ground's just not going to suit, especially if it's going to continue being sunny. It could be even quicker on Saturday. And then Kamari at the top has been probably more consistent, but just think that Klondike can improve past that sort of listed Group 3 ability going forward. So we're off to an agreeable start, Paul. Hopefully it's a winning start with Klondike. We're going to move across now to the Newmarket July course for some sprinting action. The 6 furlong Jenningsbeck Grey Horse Handicaps Class 4. Horses 0 to 85. This is real competitive from a betting perspective. 6 to 1 Celtic Champion and Divine Libra at the top of the market, and then we're almost into double figures for the rest.
Yeah, these are some of the most fascinating contests. When you start, I know the top drawer stuff is for obvious reasons, like it's the Champions League and what have you, and the Premier League of the horse racing. But when you get down the bottom to your kind of lower grade, they are fascinating, and you could run these sort of races 10 times over and get 10 different results. The one I've gone with Divine Libra. who was third in a similar event over course and distance last time out, was a good winner at Chester the time before that. James Doyle is having his first sit on Divine Libra in public. Divine Libra has had seven. He's only had the 7 runs. Two of those has registered 2 victories from those 7 runs. Both wins have come on officially soft and heavy ground, but he has a good form and has been placed on good ground. As his wins have come on soft and heavy, he's been placed on good ground. I'd be hoping that he can get competitive. He should get competitive. Best price 6-1. So a tentative nod here goes to Divine Libra.
Divine Libra putting a good performance at Chester, if I remember right. All the Chester horses stick out. Yeah, one at Chester.
One at Chester. That was on soft, which is a slight question mark here. But like I said, he has been placed on good ground.
Yeah, it's tough in the finish, so maybe that stiff uphill in the final furlong you get at the July course might be handy. I'm going to go a bit. Go on, sorry.
No, sorry for that, but just with the soft ground, it just might hinder other horses' chances that would give him he probably handles it better than his opposition.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go with Mr. Bluebird, probably at the other end of the spectrum, a horse that wants quick ground, or doesn't want quick ground, but has performed best on quicker surfaces. For Heather Main, who's in a nice little spell of form at the moment, so I'm hoping this can continue with Mr. Bluebird. He's raced predominantly over 7 this season, has won once over 7 furlongs at Goodwood as well on good to firm, but definitely goes over 6 and previously has won plenty of times over 6 furlongs. I think that 6 furlong trip at the July course with that uphill is probably going to improve him a touch. He was running really well, went 5th at the July course over 7 and just faded in the final furlong. That's happened a couple of times, even at Ascot. I know he quickened really quick. Slowed down really quickly at the Royal Meeting, but he was on the front end for long enough in a competitive handicap, and then once the race was done, it was done. I just feel like he goes well, but that extra furlong's been kind of catching him out a bit. So back to 6 furlongs. Hopefully the ground stays good, even good to firm will be perfect for him. Of course that he has ran and placed that before. I think you get a decent each way chance at Mr. Bluebird for an in-form yard. Next, we're going to jump back to Newbury before we head over to Ripon, but back to Newbury for their second race of the card, the 225. And again, it's going to be quick. It's a 5 furlong sprint. Again, it's a handicap. And the top of the market is 4 a day for Ashim Murphy and Rod Millman at 6-1. Libra Tiger, Harry Brown, Swift Asset 7s, and then we're going bigger the rest. It's lots of sprinting, Paul, lots of handicaps. It is hard work, but there is value to be found if we can find a winner, because the top of the markets on most of these races is 5-1 or bigger.
Yeah, I'd be looking at the extra place markets here, Frankie. Each way value, I think as a fun bet, I would go with the Roger Teal train when the deal is done. William Buick takes the mounts. When the deal is done, only beat 1 home at Goodwood last time out. Finished 12-15 at Ascot the time before. But on that Ascot run, was only beaten a little over 5 lengths by the winner. It wasn't all that bad. Whereas the cheek piece, he's a little bit of a character. But on his best form, like, he has some decent form in the book, winning and place form. He's now rated 87. He was rated as high as 100. William Buick knows him well. He's won on him before. He's got a draw on stall 3. He likes to be held up. So stall 3, you'd imagine he'd be able to just miss the kick maybe and hopefully 5 furlongs here. Stiff 5 furlongs at Newbury. There should be plenty of pace on, and hopefully when the deal is done, we'll be doing his best work, best of the rest laid on, and he might just nick a place. He's currently best price 14-1. So fun each way bet here when the deal is done.
When the deal is done for Paul, and Harry Brown for me. I can't get away from the top of the weights in these sprint handicaps. I just think if you can race in better races where the pace is going to be quicker, then the weight might not slow you down enough in some of these. Harry Brown probably been unlucky, to be honest, in his last couple of starts. He was midfield in the big sprint handicap of the Royal Meeting, over on the far side, all on his own with absolutely nothing to race with. And Haley Turner, was at the front of that group, but the group on the near side just massively outperformed anything towards the side that Harry Brown was on. And then probably unlucky again at Ascot when, again, was racing really with kind of nothing and had to switch and had a couple of occasions where it was a little short of room and the race was ruined. So I think if you go and watch the races back that Harry Brown's raced in the last 2 times at the Royal Meeting, probably a little bit better than bare form and numbers suggest. So I think he comes here with a good chance. Hayley Turner's ridden all 3 starts from this year and will take the ride again, which is a nice positive. She'll know the horse well. And after a couple of unlucky runs as well, I think she'll be hoping she can get her head in front on what is a slightly smaller field and I think a slightly lesser race here at Newbury. So I know he is towards the top of the market in a competitive handicap, but you can play him each way at 7s and we'll hope for some success. Next, we're off to Ripon, as I mentioned, and we're going to take a look at their 240 race. So in the middle of the card at Ripon. Again, more sprinting handicap, 6 furlongs, class 4, 0 to 80 horses. 4 to more at the top of the market is a bit of a Ripon specialist and was second here last time out. Mark's Choice at 8 to 1. Doug Costello takes the ride. And then again, we're 10s bigger the rest for a massive field, Paul. How have you dug through this?
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier, Frankie. The one I've gone with is Cooperation. Mentioned in the previous contest that about horses dropping down in grade. Cooperation has been competing higher and arguably stronger races than this. Was 6 of 11 in a Class 2 contest at Goodwood when last seen. He was well beaten at York the time before that. He was a good winner at Thirsk back in May. Like I said, drops in grade here. Slight concern would be can be a little bit tricky in the stalls, but as a good man on board in Benoit de la Sayet, where's the hood? So hopefully that will keep a lid on things. He's had plenty of starts, 37 runs, 6 wins under rules from those 37 starts. So like I said, dropping in grade here. Cooperation currently priced at 14 to 1. You could do worse than have a small each way wager on Cooperation.
There we are. I'm being boring here. 4 to more at the top of the market. The Ripon specialist that I said has raced here 13 times, has won 3 of them, placed countless times, and was up to an official rating of 90 at one point. Started the season off a mark of 84 this year, and that slowly dropped down to 77 last time. Well, now races off 78, but raced off of 77 last time out after a break, and Graham Lee was giving him a cozy old ride. And I think he'd probably be annoyed that he got pipped for second. I think he was travelling best of all and probably thought he had the race sewn up maybe and was just beating on the line. So I think that might have been a frustrating one. He was well backed, went off favourite. He'd had a break. He was off a nice low mark. He was at Ripon. There was lots of things going for him. It was a probably tactical race because there was only 4 in there. And yeah, he just got beat. But say, well, they've been lucky, but the handicap has been at least not harsh to them because they come back here off of just £1 higher. So if he's in the same sort of form, I think he is your right favourite, and I think he does deserve another shot to go one better and add to his Ripon tally. So 4 to more the favourite for me in the big handicap there. Back to Newbury for the 3 o'clock 7 furlong handicap, a little bit better, 0 to 100 horses. It's a decent card at Newbury, actually, that we've got. Open Mind for Saeed bin Saror and Ashim Murphy. That's a partnership you've got to look out for. Tops the market. Classic for Richard Hannon. Spangled Mac for George Bowie. I think I remember that horse or connection was winning at the Derby meeting when it was their stag do, I think. I can't remember the story, but we interviewed them. It was good fun. And then 10's bigger the rest. Who are we looking at here, Paul?
I've gone with an old favourite of mine, Accidental Agents, who is,
yes.
yeah, he's a bit of a character. I am fond of him. I'm a sucker for characters. Say when I had a license when I was riding, the wreck your head. They mightn't be the most straightforward, but the ones you can kind of get attached to the ones with a little bit of character. He's on his best form. I know he's 9. He's not getting any younger, but on his best form, he's bang there. 4 places if you're having an each way bet. He's best price 12 to 1. He was 5th at 12, beaten a little over a length by the winner when last season. He was 5th at 15 in a race won by Biggles at Newmarket at the time before. That was back on the 15th of July. Before that, then at the Royal Meeting, he only beat a few home, finished 25 at 29 in a race won by Witch Hunter. He is a Royal Ascot winner. Again, despite his experience and what have you, he can be a little bit tricky. in the stalls. He has refused to race in the past, but on a going day, you couldn't but love him. Like he is a character, loads of ability. On a going day, he might just nick. I think there's 4 places if you are having an each way bet, and yeah, I think Accidental Agent, another fun bet here in the 3 o'clock at Newbury.
Yeah, Accidental Agent for yourself, and Classic gets the vote for me. Who just looks quite straightforward. He's raced at Newbury 3 times. One was on debut and fourth. The other was when finishing his season at third. 2 decent and solid runs, and then was tried in the Greenham to start this year off, but it was horrible soft ground, and he didn't really go on it at all. So put a line through that. He'll get the ground that he prefers on Saturday. And since that poor run in the Greenham, he's been racing in handicaps and just seemed to have been improving nicely with each run, winning last time over 7 at Sandown on good ground. And just looks to be getting better each time. I think coming back to a track that he's raced at before last year and raced out well, and being on the rise and getting that good ground, which you didn't get in the Greenham, are all nice positives for Classic and the Hannon team. So just look to one of those kind of easy horses to back each way, ticked a lot of boxes, should run his race, is in good form, and you'd hope he'd be bang there. So at 8s, I think it's very fair just to have an each way bet on Classic. We'll go back to Ripon for the 3:15. This will be the last that we'll look at from Ripon, and I'd guess is their feature race on the day. It's the 6 furlong Wilfred Handicap, a Class 2. And Summer Gan, the horse we always talk about, and rightly so, because he's been great over the years, tops the market. Monsieur Cody, who won last time out, is in there. A couple of others that we always talk about. Live in the Moment, I put up last time, he ran 4th. So there's as you mentioned, Paul, these sprinters, they all come back around, don't they, in these big handicaps? You've just got to find them either on the right day or at the right place or on the right mark. What angle are you going for?
Absolutely. When I first opened up the page, I thought it was difficult to get away from the top 3, 4 in the market. Summer Gans, I almost sided for him. And then when I look further down the page, like Summer Gan, favourite rated 97. And then when we start going down, I know the top weight in here, second last time out, Anthem National from the Phil Kirby yard. Midge Mullen is on board as a rating, is top rated of 105. But when you get down to Aramis Gray, she's only rated 95. Carries 9 stone 2. Dara Keenan is on board. Now, Aramis Gray finished 7-7 at Chelmsford last time out. However, it did get slightly hampered, and you could argue was struggling to hold her position at the time, ran a bit of furlong out, and ended up finishing 7th of 7. I thought ran well at Haydock the time before that, finished 3rd and 9 on the 26th of May in a race won by Get Ahead. That was in a listed contest for fillies and mares. Like prior, when you look down through her form after that, she hadn't finished out with the first 2. Her form after that, from the 7th of April backwards, reads 2-1-2-2. Like on her day, she's a pretty consistent, tough mare. And I think she's overpriced here at 22-1. So I quite like the chances of Aramis Gray here at a price.
Yeah, Paul thinks he's found one. I'm going right down the bottom of the weights for this. I know I said I normally side with the top of the weights, but Live in the Moment, rated 85, carrying 8 stone 6, with Mia Nichols taking off a further 7. Live in the Moment's an absolute rocket from the stalls. And the thing that has made me side with Live in, I don't know if we talked about Live in the Moment last time for Goodwood or actually put him up as a selection. But the thing that makes me put him up again, besides obviously the huge weight advantage, is how well he ran at Goodwood on soft ground, which I really don't think is his preferred ground. And the fact that he jumped well, got to the stand side rail, and the winners all won on the far side. So he did what he needed to do and beat the only horse over that side with him, jumped well, ran a good race, but the far side ultimately took it. He still finished 4th. I think that was actually a really strong performance. So back to better ground with a big weight advantage in a race that he'd won races like this before. Mia Nichols will have her work cut out for sure, because He's speedy, but provided she jumps well and gets into a good sort of rhythm, I think that Live in the Moment will certainly set a good pace for them all to aim at, and might be hard to catch. So we'll
You've
see how it
got
pans out, but
the first time visor on as well here.
yeah,
Live in the
yeah, yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah. Anything to help, Paul. I mean, he's like, as we mentioned, these sprinters, they race very frequently and they're all in the sort of the mixer. I think you've got to try and find one normally to have a stab at to be in the places, haven't you? And hope they run their race and go and win on the day. But if you can find one you think is going to be in the places, it's usually how I sort of play it. But anyway, two prices. Yours is what, 22 to 1 I'm looking at.
22.
And
Yeah.
Live in the Moment 18. So a nice winning forecast for us there, Paul, I reckon.
Yeah, fingers crossed now. With falling out, will be competitive. Give us something to shout about.
Yeah, exactly that. Right, we'll go back to Newbury. This will be the feature race of the day. The 3:35, 7 furlong Hungerford Stakes. It's a Group 2. Chindit's at the top of the market, to everyone was talking about last time, to try and take a bite out of modern games. Jumbie in here. Those two have raced against each other, I think, a couple of times. Pogo, I put up for the Royal Meeting. I was slightly disappointed with his performance there. And then, I mean, it's a really competitive field, actually. You go down the list and all of these horses are in with a chance, really. Chindit's probably the one they got to beat, Paul.
Probably. Probably is, Frankie. Like favourites, best price 11-4, next one 7-2. Well, when I first looked at it, you have New Endeavour, Musta Bashir, first time blinkers is interesting. William Buick takes the mount. You could make a case for Marabin, Jamie Spencer, and Pogo as well. But the one I've landed 7-2, bit of value, I think, is last year's winner, Jumbai, who won this race off a mark of 106. Was rated 106 when taking this last year, but looked as good as ever on his last couple of starts. It was a good winner 2 starts back. That was in Group 3 company at Haydock back on the 10th of June, and ran an absolute cracker in the Criterion at Newmarket last time out. I wouldn't say it was unlucky. Was beaten by a better horse on the day. When you look at the race, sometimes you might say was unlucky. Maybe the pace was on the far side, but the actual winner audience came up on his own on the opposite side to where the main pack were. So Jumbai, no excuses last time out, was beaten on the day by the best horse, but still ran an absolute cracker. Like I said, won this race off 106 last year, is now rated 111. And I think Jumbai can give a good go of making it back-to-back victories here.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, you've got to sort of make your own case, as we do. And Jumbie and Chindit have raced against each other a handful of times, and they've flip-flopped, haven't they?
Yeah.
Chindit's beaten Jumbie, and Jumbie's beaten Chindit. And yeah, I suppose we're trying to find them at the right time in the right season. I think the only thing that swayed me slightly for Chindit, again, it's just there's not a huge difference in the prices between them. Was just he's maybe been a little bit more consistent at Newbury. He did win the Greenham early on in his career. He was third in the lock-ins the year Baid won it, second this year behind Modern Games. I know they're over the mark, right in 7. It's just been very consistent, bar the once when Jumbie did win this race last year. So that is the one that did unlock him. But I think he probably holds just slightly better form in these Group 1 races. My only concern is what he did in this race last year. Does it come towards the end of the season for him and, after racing at Royal Ascot? But this time round, he has missed Goodwood. So by the time they got to this race last year, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th start. This time round, it'll only be his 4th. So I'm hoping that a slightly easier season in terms of the number of races means that he might come back to his arguably favourite track a little bit fresher. So we're battling out at the top of the market in the feature race and the best race of the weekend with Chindit and Jumbie. We'll all find out tomorrow how we get on, but let's finish with a nap. Well, I think that is everything, isn't it? I was just checking and made sure we haven't missed. I suppose there's only 2 of us, so we rattle through them. But 7 races to go at. Where's the nap?
Yeah, we just had the 7 races to go at. It's competitive stuff this week. I think naps and winners, not that they're easy to come by any weekend, frankly, but they're quite difficult. this weekend. I've taken a couple of chances. One's a bigger prices, and now Accidental Agent in there as well. Has two ways of running, but Accidental Agent, although I absolutely love the horse, he just wouldn't be that material now.
No.
The one I've gone with is one that we were pretty sweet on at the start of the show. And yeah, I hope you weren't swaying that way. I'm all over Klondike. I think Klondike 5-2. Well, I think best was 5-1 yesterday. Now 9-2. So I'm across that 5-1 out. It's been a little bit of market sport overnight. Klondike, William Haggis's runners generally do improve with each run. He's only had the 3 starts. Good winner of his maiden over the mile and 3 here at Newbury on heavy ground. Then was a good second. It's good with the time before that. And I thought, look, Green still looks at a work in progress when running an absolute cracker in a Group 3, won by Castaway at Newmarket the last time out. Wasn't beaten far by the winner. So my nap for this weekend is Klondike in the 150 at Newbury.
Klondike to get us off to a winning start. Hopefully, I can certainly get on board with that, Paul. Yeah, I'm just looking through my selections, and like yourself, nothing massively stands out. I'd be quite confident that I'll nick a couple of places this weekend. In these sprint handicaps, I've put up the likes of Harry Brown, Classic, Baltimore. They're all towards the top of the market, and 7, 8-1 are not massive prices to go out. But I'd be confident that a couple of them will give you a run for your money. And the one out of those 3 that I'm going to stick with is Harry Brown, who I just think now drops into a race that he can win. He is top weight, but I think he's been racing a better company. Hayley Turner will ride for the 4th time, and I think they can get it right this day. So Harry Brown for me, Klondike for you. We should have 2 winning naps at 2:30 on Saturday.
I hope so. Fingers crossed now. But I think this weekend would be the weekend for a little fun, small each way lucky 15.
Yeah, I was going to say
I
the
think
same.
you could do worse than pick your in those big sprints. Just pick your four horses that you have an eye on, maybe, or you've maybe backed in the past that have big prices. They may have dropped in the handicap, or maybe put in a disappointing run last time out. With every chance of bouncing back here, I think this could be a weekend for a fun each way wager. Each way lucky 15.
Yeah, something small, and you nick a couple of places here and there, you get your money back or something like that, and it gives you a couple to shout home, doesn't it? Because there's nothing. I mean, the racing's lots of these sprint handicaps. There's not this kind of Saturday group action besides obviously at Newbury, but to really get stuck into is there. So yeah,
the
a couple
one
of fun bets.
The one I'd be having a punt on is Klondike. I'd be very strong on Klondike. I'd be having a single win bet on Klondike, and elsewhere I'd be just having the small fun each way lucky 15.
There we are. Paul putting his money where his mouth is. I'd like to see it. All the best, whatever you're backing, however you play your bets, and hopefully we've guided you in the direction of some winners along the way, and fingers crossed we make it a winning start for the podcast with Klondike. Next week, I'm sure we'll be back to the 3 of us, myself, Paul and James. We're trying to find you some winners wherever you're watching. Enjoy your Saturday's racing.